Something I realized in manifesting and working with people now in our SP Mastermind and Immersively, and even before we started the SP Mastermind group and Immersively for since 2019, since I've basically been talking to SP people, is there is a difference between, there is a fine line between knowing when to take action and getting into alignment in the 3D and how we view the 3D and should we be taking action or should we be passive? And also, this ties into what kind of person are you? Are you somebody who is more masculine by nature, or are you somebody who is more feminine by nature? Or have these behaviors become learned? Because I realized a lot of people, we are naturally born one way, but because of what has happened to us in society, based on how we were raised, parents, all of that type of stuff, the friends we were around, whatever beliefs we picked up, it's like racism. You're not born being a racist. Being a racist is a learned behavior. Just like learning about being masculine and feminine or becoming more masculine or becoming more feminine, that is learned to me, in my opinion. Something that I realized a lot in the manifesting community is particularly when it comes to manifesting in SP. And this is why it's always good to have help or to have people on the outside looking in to be able to tell you, hey, look, this is where you're messing up potentially. As I realized that a lot of people are approaching this whole masculine and feminine dynamic very wrong, in my opinion. It's something that's not talked about because LOA in general, the way that it's taught, we're taught to be more passive. I mean, Neville says you don't have to lift a finger. Abraham Hicks talks about getting into alignment and things becoming easier. So us listening to this stuff time and time again, we start to learn and realize and think to ourselves, oh, I ain't got to do nothing. I don't got to take no action. When in all actuality, we could be delaying things by having that kind of thought. And also, too, if you are a masculine person, for instance, like most men are, we're supposed to be naturally, we're born that way. There's a reason why men have more testosterone, way more testosterone than women, and why women have estrogen. These types of things are what separates us. And so, for instance, with men, something I don't think a lot of men realize is when they start going down this spiritual journey, when they start studying meditation, when they start studying LOA or start studying, being a Buddha or whatever the case may be, or when men go to relationship coaches or they start going to some of these dating coaches and they give some of the worst advice, what happens to a lot of men is they end up losing that healthy masculine essence that makes them attractive to women. Because I've said in past videos, masculine and feminine, opposites attract. That's what they mean when opposites attract that way. If you're a masculine person, you are going to attract a feminine person. It's very rare when you see two people that are the same masculinity get in a relationship. And a lot of times you guys have heard me say in the past, if two masculine people get in a relationship, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be nothing but headbutt, headbutt, headbutt. Just like with if two feminine people get in a relationship, the relationship most likely ain't gonna last. Just like two masculine people get in a relationship, most likely isn't gonna last. Because two feminine people in a relationship, the relationship is gonna be too passive. Nothing is probably gonna be getting done. There's gonna be no leader, nobody making plans, nobody doing this, nobody doing that. To me, when you look at life, life is all about the masculine and feminine balance. Everything in life, everything in nature, the animals, the weather, the four seasons, the moon and the sun. If you pay attention, masculine and feminine is something we cannot escape. Just like we cannot escape taking action in the 3D. And so, like I said, I've noticed in working with men, particularly, and just seeing male content over the past few years, a lot of men tend to lose that masculine essence that makes them a man when they start getting into these principles. And you don't want to do that. You do not want to lose. You don't want to let LOA and law of assumption, law of attraction make you more passive, because that could come back to, quite frankly, fuck you in the end for the worse. Because that's the one thing, that's one of the negative takeaways that a lot of people get from law of assumption, law of attraction, is it makes people so much more passive. To the masculine people out there, whether you're a female or a male, you don't want to allow LOA to make you passive when you're not supposed to be passive. You have an innate instinct inside of you to be masculine. You have an innate instinct inside of you to take action. That's there for a reason. And again, you have to ask yourself, why did you learn that? And this is why working with a coach is so important, because this is the type of stuff Tim and I touch on. We go back and we pick your life apart and we make you realize, oh, this is a learned behavior. You learn to become masculine when you're not supposed to be masculine. Oh, you learn to become feminine where you're not supposed to become feminine. And this is a huge mistake that I see going on right now in this community. Huge mistake. You'll hear guys say, oh, well, I was taught. No. I don't care what you were taught. Fuck what you were taught. Most of these people have no fucking clue what they're talking about when they talk about masculine and feminine energy. And I'm not talking about this masculine macho shit that a lot of these guys, like some of these guys on the internet are talking about on YouTube, basically having zero respect for women and basically have this mentality of whatever I say goes. I'm not talking about none of that shit. I'm talking about healthy masculinity that provides clear leadership and guidance that the feminine energy has no choice but to submit to. because it's natural, it's innate in her. And as well as that, you know, we have to look at the feminine. Have you become extremely masculine when you're supposed to be feminine? Because there's a lot of people out there, particularly women, that have become more masculine because, again, how they were brought up, how they were taught. They looked at their mother. Their mother was strong and independent and raised her daughter to be strong and independent, or all of her kids to be strong and independent. And they don't realize that when they take that into a relationship, it's not going to work. You can't be strong and independent when you're in a relationship. You can't try to be the main caller in a relationship if you're supposed to be the feminine aspect of the relationship. Because when you meet somebody that's masculine, again, you're going to butt heads over who's making the final decision. And this is the type of nuanced stuff that people go through in relationships. And this is the type of nuanced stuff that people don't talk about when it comes to law of attraction, law of assumption. Polarity is very real. And you've heard that, law of polarity. You've heard that term before. So each individual person has to look at their life and ask themselves, do I need to take more action or do I need to take less action? Maybe it's both. You have to comb that out separately. But in terms of trying to manifest somebody back, new or old, your ability to manifest without lifting a finger, as a Neville Goddard would say, in my opinion, is directly correlated between your beliefs and your assumptions about what needs to be done. Is directly correlated with the amount of action you are taking when you are doing your techniques or not doing your techniques. For instance, we all know about Joe Dispenza. Action is something that is inevitable to me, in my opinion, in the 3D. People always talk about you don't have to lift a finger. 90+% of people, in my opinion, are going to have to lift a finger. You're going to have to, no matter what people are saying. Whether you're trying to get an SP back, or you're trying to manifest somebody new, most people are going to have to lift a finger. So if you could get that idea out of your head, most people, that would alleviate anxiety off the rip. And then also too, it's going to take most of you a lot of time. I know they say, oh, you can happen quickly. No, get rid of the idea of getting an SP it's going to happen quickly. If you can get rid of that idea as well, that will also help you alleviate anxiety, which then in turn, in a weird way is going to help you manifest them quickly, because now you don't have anxiety around thinking about it happening quickly, because that's really what you need to get rid of, is the anxiety around it happening quickly. So when you get rid of the idea of, oh, this is going to happen quickly, and you just do the techniques and let it happen without putting a time frame on it, it's weird, but that'll help speed it up. But back to Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza, he got fast results because he took action in the 3D every day by forcing himself to visualize for hours in the beginning, for hours, to see himself walking, running, doing those things he did before he had gotten his back messed up from his accident. So that's taking action. People don't realize doing techniques is taking action. That's very strenuous on a lot of people. Doing techniques is very strenuous on a lot of people, especially if you're affirming a lot or doing visualizations a lot. It can be very strenuous. People get headaches, people get sick trying to do this stuff in the beginning, which is why, again, you got to ask yourself, what kind of person are you? What do I need to do in my particular situation? Am I doing too much? Do I need to take a step back? That sort of thing. But Joe Dispenza, he took action. He did a lot of action in the beginning because he had no choice, because, I mean, he was bedridden. He couldn't do anything. So basically, he could sit there and just, for hours, just close his eyes and do sats, basically, get himself in a meditative state and just constantly think about walking and running again and doing all that type of stuff. So it worked for him. But a lot of people, they're not taking that kind of action because they're taking no action because, again, LOA is telling people, yo, you need to be passive. You don't need to do anything. And again, that can work for some, but I think those people are the minority. They're anomalies. Most people, in my opinion, they're not going to be able to do that. The people that are going to be able to manifest, in my opinion, that way without lifting a finger, they are the people that are going to do this stuff every day, or a lot, quite frankly, and they're going to do it and they're going to believe it. And this is the same thing with Joe Dispenza's daughter. When Joe Dispenza's daughter, in the example he gave in that one video, when he talks about his daughter manifesting the unlimited shopping spree, when she manifested that, he would fight with her as well, because he would ask her, did you get up every day and did you do your meditation? And she would get an attitude and he would be like, come on, I did mine. You got to do yours. And he kept telling her, you have to recondition your body. You have to recondition your body and mind to think that a future event is happening right now in the present. She was able to get the results. If you guys remember, he was talking about, he was in Washington, D.C., I think, and he got a phone call from his daughter one day, and she was freaking out. He could tell she was altered in some state. And she told him, Dad, you know, what happened? He was like, what happened? And she said, I just, you know, that unlimited shopping spree that I wanted? She was like, it happened. And she told him how it happened. But before it had happened, Joe and his daughter were getting up. Joe was doing his meditation for whatever it is that he wanted every day. And his daughter was getting up doing her meditation every day of receive, whatever that looked like, because I don't know what it looked like. He didn't really go into detail what her meditation looked like. Whatever her process was, she was doing it every morning when she woke up. She was doing that process of conditioning her mind and body of what it would feel like to go on an unlimited shopping spree. That was her meditation every morning. And she did it every day. So those people that think you don't have to lift a finger, you're not gonna have to lift a finger if you're gonna be that disciplined with this work. But the problem is most of you are not gonna be that disciplined with doing this work. You might be that disciplined for the first day, for the first week, but there's a reason why Emmett Fox's 7-day mental diet is extremely tough to do. Most people don't even get past day 2 of that. If you guys know about the 7-day mental diet, Fox basically makes people go through 7 days straight. You basically want to not necessarily dwell on negative thoughts. Like the negative thoughts are going to come, but immediately you're going to want to shift your negative thoughts. He basically makes people and talks about people going a full 7 days doing that and trying to just condition your mind to not think and dwell in the negative. Like if a thought comes, let it come. Boom, immediately get rid of it and don't dwell on it. It's very hard for people to do that technique, that challenge. And like I said, people don't even get past day 2. People might get to day 3 or 4 at most and then quit because it's extremely hard because of how we conditioned ourselves over the years with this type of stuff. But your ability, like I said, your ability to manifest without lifting a finger is directly correlated to if you are going to be that disciplined. If you're not going to be that disciplined, guess what? Don't expect to get an SP back, new or old, because you're probably going to have to do more than that person that's just doing the techniques. Because again, most people lack discipline. I mean, let's just be honest about it. Also, too, a lot of people don't realize in their unique situation where they are messing up at. This is why it's always good to have a set of eyes on the outside looking in to help you say, this is where you messed up. This is where this happened. You know, and it could work both ways. Like they say, that saying, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. There's no wrong way with this stuff. You just got to ask yourself, how hard do you want to make the process? The process doesn't have to be hard, but you have to ask yourself, how hard do you want to make it? You can make it hard if you're not going to be disciplined, like I was just saying. But if you're not going to be disciplined, then most likely the process could end up being hard for you. You're going to have to take the outward action or the necessary action or the normal action, you know, of going on dating apps and, you know, maybe going out to social gatherings or bars or whatever to try to meet somebody, you know, but it doesn't have to happen that way because it didn't happen that way for me. Tim just recently put out a video where he talked about he met his wife at a bar. He went up to her and talked to her. Again, that's taking action. Taking action is inevitable, as I've been saying, as I said in past videos. Most people are gonna have to take action in that kind of way. For me, I used to always joke with myself and I used to say, Marv, if you meet somebody, the only way you're gonna meet somebody is from the gym, because I never go out. I never go out to bars. I never go out to parties. I don't go to, I'm extremely introverted. So I used to always joke with myself, like, Marv, the only way you're gonna meet somebody is you're gonna have to meet them at the gym because you never do nothing. You are boring. And that's ultimately what happened. That's how I met my girlfriend. I didn't have to lift a finger for that necessarily. If you want to use Neville's terms, like I didn't lift a finger for that. That shit just fell into my lap from me following my weekly routine, my daily routine. And for all I know, it could have happened the same way for Tim. Tim could have just been following his weekly routine of just, you know, he just might have ended up being at a bar for some reason. I don't know why he was at that bar. And it could have just naturally happened that way. But bottom line is action is going to need to take place. Even though I didn't lift a finger, I didn't go out of my way on dating apps, or I didn't go out of my way to purposely try to go to a bar and meet women. I didn't do any of that. But I still had to take action because guess what? Like Tim and I always say, after you get your SP back or when you meet your new SP, now the real work starts. Now you get to really gauge yourself on, is my self-concept really good? Because now once you've met them or you've gotten them back, now you need to court them all over again, or you need to court them if it's a new relationship. You need to start asking the questions. How have you been? How's your family? If it's an old SP, how have things changed? Have you changed for the worse now that you're back in my life? Because that's what happened to me. I've had old SPs come back, but their lives changed for the worse. I was like, fuck that. I'm not talking to you. I'm not dealing with you. I want a new SP. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta, once your old SP or new SP shows back up, now that takes action. You have to relearn them all over again in a sense to figure out, yo, are you still the same person? Or if it's somebody new, you gotta learn, are you guys on the same page about shit? You got to go through the courting process. Where do you like to eat? Where can I take you out? And then you got to actually go take them out on a date. And then you actually got to go spend money. You actually have to spend time. Action. I'm telling you guys, action. Action is inevitable. A lot of times. 99.9% of the times, action is inevitable when manifesting an SP. You might get lucky like me, but again, you got to ask yourself, is your self-concept on my level? Because my self-concept was on my level. That it's on is because that's always been my main thing that I focused on, was always self-concept, self-love, knowing that I'm worthy, that type of thing. So when you get to that kind of level, you will ultimately end up attracting the stuff that you want in your life because you know I'm worthy for this stuff now. So now it could come in. And then when it comes in, it should be a lot smoother and easier process than it is for other people. I look at my situation. when my situation happened, it wasn't one of those situations where, okay, I met somebody new now. I met this girl now. She's dating other people and I'm dating other people. And I'm trying to see if she's the one. I'm trying to see if this guy or if this woman over here is the one. She's trying to see if this guy is the one or this guy over here is the one or if I'm the one. I didn't go through any of that. When we met, it was like, yep, I'm dealing with you. I'm dealing with you for the near future. Yeah, let's do this. There was no, oh, I need to date this person and see how they are. I need to date that person and see. No, it was none of that. But why did it happen that way? In my opinion, is because I did the work to get into alignment. And I knew those were things that I didn't want to deal with. I didn't want to deal with somebody where they were like, oh, no, I'm dating other guys. You know, I'll date you, but I'm also going to go. I didn't want to deal with any of that. Guess what? Because I put that out there in the universe, I didn't have to deal with any of that. I met somebody that was on the same page. Like, yo, yeah, I'm not dating nobody. You're not dating nobody. I like you. You like me. Let's do this. And that's how it happens. But guess what? It took work. It took the physical work of doing techniques or doing the, self-concept stuff. And then it took physical work from actually courting. So I'm saying all of this to let you guys know, yo, get rid of this idea that you ain't got to take action because it's bullshit. It's bullshit, especially if you're masculine. Again, how I started off this video. If you are somebody who's in your masculine energy or is supposed to be in your masculine energy, following a lot of LOA advice could get you fucked because it could have you doing a lot of waiting when you're supposed to be doing a lot more doing potentially at times, especially when it comes to manifesting a specific person. Sometimes you guys are waiting around thinking they're going to text you back, thinking you're going to have a situation like me, thinking like, oh, I'm going to be able to manifest my SP back after 5 years like Marv or after 1 year. After 2 years. No, the reason I was able to do that is because I did the work. When I started seriously doing the work back in 2018, that's when that shit happened. When I started seriously doing the work, when I was religious like Joe Dispenza or his daughter was, that's when that shit happened. Up until that point, I wasn't serious with this stuff. Like most people aren't serious with doing the work necessary. And then they wonder why they don't see results. That's why, because it's hard. The 7-day mental diet of Fox is hard. When a negative thought creeps into your head, and you shooting that negative thought down, not letting that negative thought grow into another negative thought, and then another, and then another. And next thing you know, 2 hours have passed. Next thing you know, the whole day has passed and you've just been dwelling on negativity. That type of stuff is hard. This is why a lot of people can't manifest. It's because they'll take 10, 15 minutes to do a technique or affirmation. And then for the rest of the day, they're living as the old man. They're thinking about all their regrets, all their mistakes. So that's still the dominant perspective in your mind, is how much you fucked up, is how much you regret X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be. That's still the dominant thought. So even if you do a technique, your dominant thoughts throughout the day override you doing that technique for 15 minutes, which is why you really got to train yourself, which is why we always say, this stuff ain't easy, man. This stuff ain't easy. So get a coach, work with this.